Hello and welcome back to the weekly recess. Mitch and Lee and Tommy Grant here with you on Jersey Nerds Productions. And Tommy, week 3 has come and gone. How did you feel about things?
I, you know, I'm just very confused as to what's going on because a lot of the games did not have the outcomes that we thought were going to happen. Um, I was not surprised at all with how poorly Miami did. I was very excited as a now native Buffalonian as to Josh Allen's spectacular performance. He saved my fantasy league team. Jets had a great week this week. Vikings had a great week this week. A lot of teams, just a lot of close games and a lot of games where I think we had some unexpected outcomes.
Well, I'll start off in the AFC East because that's the division closest to our hearts. And
Yep.
I'll start with what happened last night with Buffalo. Josh Allen, I think very clearly, uh, they don't give out MVPs after 3 weeks of the season. But if they were to do so, Josh Allen would win unanimously
Yes.
because he has been phenomenal and he has not been the turnover prone Josh Allen that you kind of live with the turnovers because he gives you such great play as well, but you've gotten just the great play without the turnovers. And Josh Allen has played, I think, the best football of his career, apart from the playoff run they went on about 3 years ago, where they ran into the Chiefs and had an all-time classic game.
Yep.
Um, I cannot wait, not even as a Jets fan, but just as a football fan, Bills Jets this year is going to be such a great game. I mean, the
It-
Jets and the way they played against New England, and yeah, I
yep.
know it's New England, but New England and Jacksonville are both in really bad situations right now.
Yeah.
And they both just went out there and dominated against inferior competition. Aaron Rodgers moving around a lot more in week 3 and week 1 and 2. We kind of saw him as more of a pocket passer, not moving around much.
Yep.
In week 3, he looked more like the Aaron Rodgers that I was watching in high school and in college, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And by the way, just spanking the hell out of the Patriots after decades of torment at the hands of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick was a lot of fun as well. But I think that
It's,
those two teams are definitely uh they're just
as
the showdown in week 6 is going to be a lot
as
of
as
fun.
our common enemy in the AFC East, it's always nice to see the Patriots just get their asses.
Yes. Yes,
And
absolutely it is. But your Dolphins, um
yeah, they're taking a hit.
I would go as far as to say, with their quarterback situation being what it currently is, the Dolphins might be the worst team in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And I just think that with Tua having the problems that he's had, you guys had to have invested more in a backup. And that's just something that the
As a
Dolphins
smart
did
owner,
not
you
do.
thought you would think they would. Especially the biggest problem I have is we know Tua has been prone to injury before, just specifically head injuries. You should know, hey, your quarterback's going to take hits. He's very vulnerable. Have a fucking backup.
Yeah.
And we don't have that.
No. And now you're
And
down to your third stringer, who was the
yeah,
Jets' third stringer last year, who was legitimately terrible, but the backup was legitimately terrible. And long
it,
story short, I just think that the season is over for the Miami
it is.
Dolphins,
It is.
and
It's been
it's
over since week
it's
2.
it's sad because every team, even the Patriots, the Panthers, the Titans, all the worst teams still have a little bit of hope that, like, hey, maybe we can turn things around and like really get some momentum going in the next
Yeah.
year, or like, hey, maybe our guys just started off on the wrong foot and we'll get things figured out. The Dolphins, legitimately, it's like their fans are just like, why am I watching this season?
Yep.
You're in a very similar situation that the Jets were in last year, and it's tough. It's tough to go through a football season like that when your starting quarterback goes down and your backup is atrocious.
Yep.
That's just a place that no one wants to be. Uh, a little bit more positively speaking for week 2, like you mentioned, some teams played really, really well. Minnesota looked fantastic. I think the defense deserves even more props than the offense did. I mean, holding CJ Stroud to 7 points and really having him looking confused all day long was really impressive. Brian Flores doing a great job with that defense. Green Bay continuing to win with the backup quarterback in Malik Willis. Jordan Love should be coming back this week. The Packers and Vikings play each other. So that should be one of the top games of week 4.
Very much looking forward to that game.
Yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. Baltimore gets their first win of the season. Derrick Henry showing the Cowboys why maybe they should have paid him and brought him into Dallas. But the Cowboys did fight back in this one. I don't think the loss is on Dak. I think it's on the Cowboys defense. And if the Ravens had a better record, which this is a team that could have very well been 3-0 right now. I think Lamar Jackson is playing just as well as any other quarterback in the league not named Josh Allen. And they play each other in week 4. And another one where it's like one of the really strong games on the week 4 schedule. And also, sorry.
No, I was about to say another game that kind of took me through a loop was the Rams 49ers game. The Rams.
Man, let me tell you, as someone who bet on the Rams to win that game, that was a thrilling game to watch because but they won for a completely different reason than I expected, because I thought, okay, Brock Purdy playing without Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel is probably not going to be able to handle all of that the same way that Stafford would without his guys. I just trust the quarterback more for the Rams than the 49ers. But Brock Purdy played really well. Brock Purdy wasn't the problem. The problem is the Niners are just kind of falling apart. The defense is hurt and not honestly that strong to begin with, if we're being honest with ourselves. And Matt Stafford put the team on his back and played great.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at the stats alone, the 49ers led the game in total yards per play. They led them in everything, but they fell short.
The Niners have this problem when it comes to closing out games, and they've had it for years. And it's a Kyle Shanahan thing. So it is what it is. Detroit Lions run the ball down the Cardinals' throat. Exactly the type of game the Lions wanted to play. Chiefs 3-0. Everyone's kind of frustrated with the Chiefs because they're winning, but they're not really blowing anybody out. They don't look dominant, so to speak. They're just kind of squeaking past a lot of teams.
Yeah, they're kind of winning by technicalities and skeptical referee calls, I think, at this point.
Now, from the Falcons game, I will say this. The refereeing in that game was so bad and went, against the Chiefs and for the Chiefs that wasn't like, hey, we're what's the word? Why am I blanking on it? We're rigging the games for the Chiefs.
Pocket.
No, that was just incompetence. That was just refs being like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just going to throw a flag. And at the end, I really thought that the Chiefs fans were going to have a real axe to grind against the referees, because they kept throwing like really bad pass interference calls against the Chiefs. So I think it's a little ridiculous that the fans keep going to the whole like, well, the refs are helping them out. No, the refs are just bad.
Yeah.
The refs are just bad. And the games you're watching the closest happen to be the Chiefs games, so you're noticing it in those games. Jaden Daniels on Monday Night Football just lit it up. I mean, Joe Burrow played well in that game as well, but that was just a defense not allowed type of game. And Jaden Daniels put on a show. Bengals now 0-3. How worried are you about Cincinnati?
I don't know, because I mean that was a game that you, Connor, and I had all predicted the Bengals were going to win, and we clearly were wrong. I don't know what happened on Monday night that made Washington come out on top. That was not the game I was watching, but
it was
I'm a little concerned for Bengals right now.
It was a game where the Bengals and Washington doesn't have a great offensive line, but the Bengals couldn't touch Jaden Daniels. They got no pressure on him whatsoever. He had time to throw, and most of the time he didn't even need it. He just picked him apart. It was a great game for Jaden Daniels. It was a real coming out party. In the way that everyone keeps waiting for Caleb Williams to have a game just like Jaden Daniels had. It was phenomenal. It was electric. It was really fun to watch because Washington hasn't had a quarterback like this since RG3's rookie season. And I just hope for their sake that this skinny running quarterback fares better injury wise than Robert Griffin did because he was, I mean, people forget just how good he was in that rookie season. He was so good, but he just couldn't keep it up and got hurt. Moving over to week 4.
Oh,
Is there a game? Oh, go ahead.
on. Before, I think we need a quick touch on probably the least exciting game of this week being the Eagles versus Saints.
That was a game that I watched from start to finish.
As did I, because I wanted to see the Saints win, and I thought they were until the fourth quarter where they just forgot how to play, and the Eagles just dominated them. But the Eagles looked terrible the entire game.
It was, I think, and this is kind of funny to think about. I think that if you were to MVP vote right now, Saquon Barkley would be in the top 3.
Absolutely.
Which is strange because you think about the Falcons game, a lot of people go, "Oh, he lost them the game because he didn't catch that pass." They don't beat the Packers in week 1 without Saquon Barkley. They probably lose by 2 possessions, and they're not in the game against the Saints without Saquon Barkley. He is the only reason why they aren't 0-3 right now.
Yep.
And so he's probably the reason why they're going to win the NFC East. I think he's been great for the Eagles to start. But yeah, that was such a strange game because the Saints center got hurt early on, and then the Eagles defensive tackles just kept making things happen in the back. Like Jalen Carter dominated in this game.
But
Derek Carr couldn't get anything going. Jalen Hurts, it felt like they couldn't really pass the ball down the field. It was more of a horizontal passing game. And then Nick Sirianni made a bunch of really stupid decisions involving not kicking field goals. It was bizarre.
Yep. I mean, it was a 3-0 game until the fourth quarter. I mean, I was just sitting there waiting. I was like, "Is this what is going on? Like, there's nobody going to kick a field goal?"
What sport am I watching? Like, it's the same sensation. It's a very similar sensation to the one I'm used to when I watch the Jets, where I'm like, I'm watching a different sport than the one I watch other teams play, where they're putting up points and moving the ball down the field and scoring touchdowns, and I'm watching the Jets just like fumble trying to figure out how to gain 5 yards. This Thursday, it was, hey, the Jets are moving the ball, scoring points, and I'm watching the Eagles and Saints just like not know how to football. It was very strange, but kind of fulfilling. It was nice. All right, week 4. Is there a game that stands out to you as particularly like, this is the one I'm watching the closest?
I have 3 games.
That's cheating, but yeah, go ahead.
The first is the Vikings-Packers game, which we already talked about. I think that's going to be a very fun game to watch.
I think the Packers run away with that one personally. I think I don't trust Sam Darnold to continue to play well, and Jordan Love's going to be back for Green Bay, and this team learned to win even without him. I don't think it's one of those where it's like, well, there might be a period where things are just kind of like not the great. No, he's going to come in and play great.
The other game is the Steelers versus Colts.
Oh, okay.
I feel like the Steelers are kind of the underlying threat we haven't really talked about much. You know, they're another 3-0 team. And they've actually been playing fairly well.
I don't take them too seriously right now, if I'm going to be honest with you. I still like the Ravens to win the AFC North, but I love them in this game against the Colts because I think their defense is going to absolutely terrorize Anthony Richardson. I think that this is a game where the Steelers continue to play exactly the type of football that they want to play and win how they want to win.
And then my last game is actually the Bengals versus the Panthers, because as you predicted, I'm curious more to see who wins this game because the Bengals have been playing terribly. The Panthers actually had a decent game this week. So I'm curious to see if it was just a one-off for the Panthers or if they're actually going to be somewhat decent this year.
This screams like a Bengals 2-touchdown win for me.
Yeah,
I think that the Bengals get it together this game, and this is a nice get right spot for Cincinnati and Carolina. I think people started really drinking the Kool-Aid on the whole Andy Dalton thing and forgot that they played Vegas. And Vegas is in fact not a good team at
yep,
all. So yeah, no, Cincinnati I think wins big there. I'm really looking forward to Sunday Night Football, Buffalo at Baltimore. That
yeah.
is a gigantic game. And I actually
I
like
think the Bills have it in the bag for this one.
see, I feel the
How they've
opposite.
been playing.
I think the Ravens win this game. The Bills haven't really faced a team this year that really wants to pound the rock the way that the Ravens do with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And so I think that they're going to win time of possession and keep Josh Allen on the sideline. And that's something that the Bills haven't really had to deal with too much this year. They've kind of just, with the exception of the Cardinals, who want to play a very spread it out type of football, uh, they've just dominated Miami defensively, dominated Jacksonville defensively.
Yep.
And so I think it will be a good game, but I think Baltimore kind of reasserts their dominance in the AFC by winning this one.
It'll definitely test the Bills for sure this week. Just
Oh, it's easily the best team they've played so far.
yeah.
Eagles Buccaneers is another one that I'm looking forward to watching. This game, now there's supposed to be hurricane like conditions or even just hurricane conditions in Florida starting, I want to say, Thursday. So this could be a wet one. Could not be. I don't know. But either way, I think that the Buccaneers defense is very beat up. And I think that this is a Saquon Barkley game where he just continues to do what he's been doing and will the Eagles to a victory, regardless of how the rest of the team performs.
Yep. I mean, especially if we're looking at really rainy conditions, that's a game you're not going to see them passing too much, and they're
No.
going to rely heavily on Saquon for that.
Jets get the Broncos. I don't want to say I'm not worried because I'm worried about every Jets game, but at the same time, I'm like licking my lips thinking of the Jets defense going up against Bo Nix, and I think that that can be a matchup where, just like the Patriots, where the Jets offense really gets to dominate time of possession and the defense gets to play with a lead, they get to do the exact same thing against the Broncos, and I think that could be a lot of fun. And I think they
Yeah.
win that one big.
Yeah, I think the Jets have this game. I don't see the Broncos as too much of a threat towards them, but again, you never know.
You ready for your Monday night doubleheader? Titans and Dolphins, and there are. I don't think I've ever gone into a game with this that wasn't the Jets because the Jets always find themselves in the dumbest situations, or at least they used to. The Dolphins could be starting Skylar Thompson, but he's hurt. They could be starting Tim Boyle, or they could be bringing Tyler Huntley off the practice squad to start. You have three different people that could be starting for the Miami Dolphins. And so I'm just going to take the Tennessee Titans because I think that Will Levis, for as poorly as he has played, is better than all of those other options the Dolphins have.
As we both mentioned earlier, the Dolphin season is done. I unless they actually manage to get a quarterback that can actually play fairly decent and spread around the love to freaking Hill and Achane, Waddle, all their actual threats and make the throws and not throw interceptions, maybe we have a chance, maybe, of even scoring points. But I don't see Miami pulling anything out of their ass yet.
And then Seattle, Detroit, they've played some really fun games the last few years. Ever since the Lions really started winning, they always play a game against Seattle that ends up. This is the thing that surprises me. The over under is 47.5, but they always play games that just never seem to stop scoring. Like, let me pull up Lions Seahawks 2022. Um, they played they played twice in 2022. What, they played twice? Oh, yeah. Okay. The last 3 times they've played. Okay. January 2nd, 2022. 51-29 was the score. Okay. Then in October of 2022, 48-45 was the
Wow.
score. And then last year they played 37-31. What
Yeah.
makes you think that this is a first 23 wins type of game? I don't see it that way at all.
No.
And these are very similar teams to those. The identities haven't drastically changed. I know Seattle wants to run the ball a little bit more, but I mean, I think the Lions win this game because I think the Lions are able to run the ball better. I think the Lions are a really tough team to run against, and Seattle runs into some issues with that.
Yeah, it's this is gonna be a very close game. I think. I don't know because Detroit. I mean, Detroit's obviously been the powerhouse lately, but
Seattle's
Seattle
undefeated.
Seattle's undefeated, but they also didn't really have much.
They
They
haven't
didn't have a hard
played
schedule to start.
Denver, New England, and Miami with Skylar Thompson. So it's not like they've exactly faced a murderer's row.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna give it to the Lions, but I think it might be a closer game.
That might be like my favorite bet of the week is over 47.5, which is not the highest total of the week, by the way. That's Commanders Cardinals, which makes a lot of sense because I don't think those teams believe in defense. So that makes a lot of sense. But week 4 is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I would say good luck to your Dolphins, but I heard a lot of smack on like Twitter from Dolphins fans last year that were like, "Well, you should have had a better backup for Aaron Rodgers. I'm glad he got hurt." So like
We're just eating our own words.
For those Dolphins fans, I'm like, "Oh, you're starting Tim Boyle. Haha. I've been here before. How does that feel?" But I wouldn't wish that upon people that I actually know in real life. So I'm sorry that the season has gone south so fast. There's room on the Jets bandwagon, but probably not for too much longer. So if you want to get on, now is the time.
I appreciate the offer, but I've officially been welcomed into the Bills community here
Yeah,
in Buffalo.
I've. You can't be a Dolphins fan living in Buffalo rooting for the Jets. That just
Yep.
sounds like it's crossing too many lines. I get it, and hey, it must be a lot of fun with the way the Bills are playing. To
It's definitely a
yeah,
good time to be a new Bills fan up here
yeah.
in Buffalo. So I'll be rooting for them for the rest of the season.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the weekly recess. We'll be back next week to recap that action and talk about week 5. Lots of fun games. The Jets are in. We got our first London game, and the
There we
Jets
go.
are in London. So we're gonna have some fun stuff to talk about next week as well. Tommy, thank you for joining me, and you guys enjoy the football this weekend.